Karuto Akano was a regular person going about his daily business in a downtown office. One night, just as he's about to give up and go home. Although he is desperate to get home and relax, a coworker approaches him asking for assistance. And Karuto unwillingly agrees to assist, while Karuto is being surrounded by a whirling cloud of darkness. 3 otherworldly beings in a remote magical shrine notice him. One of them remarks that harboring such hopelessness can bring one's world to an end, so they decide to save him before that occurs. During their conversation, one of them offers to go on the mission and promises to spoil him to his heart's delight. Karuto eventually finishes his labor and makes it to the last train of the day, but he feels exhausted from it, and his dark aura keeps intensifying, casting a heavier shadow over him. When he gets home, he sees that the lights are on and wonders if he accidentally left them on. As he opens the door, he's greeted by the surprising sight of a girl cooking in his apartment. When the girl notices him, she warmly welcomes him home. Caught off guard, Karuto bursts out an apology for barging into the wrong apartment and swiftly closes the door, mentally face-palming for his embarrassing mistake. However, as he glances at the sign beside the door, he realizes that this is his own apartment. Intrigued yet bewildered, he opens the door again and there she is, still there to greet him. Unable to comprehend the absurdity of the situation, Karuto slams the door shut once more, then gives himself a solid slap on the face to confirm if it's all real. Opening the door once again, the girl, seemingly unfazed by Karuto's dumbfounded expression, cheerfully announces that she's been eagerly awaiting his arrival and that dinner is ready. Meanwhile, Karuto can only stare at her, utterly perplexed as to how this petite creature, complete with fluffy ears and an oversized tail, managed to get into his apartment. His brain instantly leaps to the worst-case scenario, a vivid mental image of the police barging in, accusing him of abducting a young girl. Shivering with fear for his life and reputation, he quickly kicks the girl out of his apartment. Yet to his astonishment, she effortlessly passes through the closed door, casually remarking that she can tell he's pretty exhausted. Karuto, now teetering on the edge of his sanity, questions if she is a ghost as the girl keenly observes Karuto's dark aura growing in intensity. A genuine concern wells up within her and asks if he's going to have the dinner she cooked. Karuto's rumbling stomach momentarily distracts him, but he quickly decides to confront the girl head-on and asks her what she's doing in his apartment. The girl, in her eyes welling up with tears, responds in a quivering voice, saying that she poured her heart into making this meal for him, but if he doesn't want it she'll just throw it away. She then moves to pour the meal into the kitchen sink, but Karuto instinctively stops her. At last he surrenders the peculiar circumstances and agrees to indulge in the meals she prepared with such care. With the food and range on the table, the girl eagerly awaits Karuto's first bite. As he takes a mouthful, he can't help but comment how delicious it is. The girl beams with pride observing Karuto savoring a meal, and she too starts enjoying her own portion. As they eat together, the dark aura enveloping Karuto gradually dissipates, fading away. Amidst the shared meal, a sudden realization jolts Karuto's memory. He has yet to determine who this mysterious little girl really is. Karuto questions her and she introduces herself as Senko, an 800-year-old servant of the gods and a fox demigod. Karuto then notices that the ingredients used in the meal are not from his own kitchen, so he asked her about it. The girl reveals that she brought them herself, collected as offerings made by people at the shrine. When Karuto presses further, questioning why she specifically came to his apartment, Senko simply states that she couldn't bear to see him so worn out and wanted to lend a helping paw. Intrigued by Senko's unwavering dedication, Karuto depresses further. Curious about why she's going through all this trouble to help him with hinder suspense in the air, Senko begins to respond, her voice filled with anticipation that the truth is that Karuto is just the type of handsome boy she likes. Caught off guard by her unexpected response, Karuto can't help but ask if that's all. Sensing the need for a more serious response, the fox girl then explains that she feels indebted to his family and all she asks in return is for him to accept her care and pampering. After their satisfying meal, Senko prepares tea for them, expressing her concern over the excessive amount of coffee Karuto consumes, believing it may be disturbing his stomach. Naturally, he questions how she knows about his coffee habits. With a mischievous smile, Senko confesses that she's been observing him closely for quite some time. While Senko busies herself with washing the dishes, Karuto takes a moment to savor his tea. To his surprise, he notices a lucky tea stalk floating in his cup, a reminiscent sight from his visits to his grandmother's place. Memories flood back, reminding him of the times where she would lovingly offer him snacks and a comforting cup of tea, occasionally accompanied by a lucky tea stalk. Feeling a sense of shame, Karuto apologizes to Senko for burdening her with his chores. However, she dismisses his concerns, insisting that he relax and allow her to pamper him. Karuto admits that he's unfamiliar with being pampered, but Senko kindly reassures him that he can freely express his needs and desires to her. Just then, Karuto's gaze falls upon Senko's tail, its fluffy charm catching his attention. Unable to contain his curiosity, he musters the courage to ask if he can touch it. Witnessing Senko's stunned reaction, Karuto quickly reassures her that it's perfectly alright if she's uncomfortable with the idea. However, despite her flustered state, Senko agrees and Karuto finds himself in all of the golden fur before him. The moment his hand grazes its surface, a surge of elation washes over him. The texture is pure bliss, akin to being enveloped in a warm and gentle hug. With all the fondling, however, Senko starts to lose her composure, feeling increasingly flustered. Kuruto can help but expresses admiration, remarking that her fur must be the most luxurious one in existence. Blushing furiously, her voice barely above a whisper, timidly asks if he could perhaps tone down the fondling a bit. As the somewhat awkward moment of tail touching comes to an end, Kuruto can't help but feel apologetic for Senko's unwavering kindness. He expresses his frustration, stating that she has done so much for him, yet he feels incapable of doing anything in return. Senko assures him that witnessing a genuine smile on his face is more than enough for her. However, Kuruto insists that if this continues he will eventually become a lazy bum. In response, Senko simply asks if that's truly a problem, which makes Kordov pause and ponder. She then reminds him that everyone has their own faults, including herself, and she has had 800 years to work through them. Senko believes that he is already putting in great effort and that her actions are driven by her genuine desire to help. Besides, the care of a demigod if Fox is invaluable, far surpassing any number of good deeds, so once again she playfully insists that he should simply accept her pampering and be grateful. Senko then extends a heartwarming invitation for Kuruto to use her lap as a pillow, and without hesitation he accepts, finding comfort in her presence. As Senko runs her fingers through his hair, Kuruto drifts into a dreamlike state, remembering himself as a child praying at a shrine alongside his beloved grandmother. However, in his dream he becomes lost in the woods and calls out for his grandmother. To his surprise, a stranger appears and guides him back, leading him to a joyous reunion with his grandmother. Abruptly awoken from his slumber, Kuruto thinks that perhaps it was Senko helped him in finding his way. Before he can delve deeper into this realization, his attention is diverted to other sensations, such as feeling lighter than before. Expressing his gratitude once again, Kuruto thanks Senko, to which she responds with a lighthearted remark assuring him that she has only just begun her pampering. Kuruto then musters the courage to ask if he could touch her tail once more. Blushing and flustered, the fox demigod replies that he can only do so once a day, playfully setting a limit to their tail-touching interactions. The next morning, Kuruto awakens with a heavy sense of fatigue and sleepiness. Kuruto initially questions whether the events of the previous night were merely a dream. However, much to the surprise, Senko appears before him offering a cheerful good morning. Sensing the return of the dark aura surrounding him, Senko attempts to lift his spirits by offering to prepare breakfast. However, Kuruto declines, explaining that he needs to rush off to work. Left alone in Kuruto's apartment, Senko's mind starts churning with ideas on how to make him feel better. The demigoddess starts by airing out his futon, infusing the room with a breath of freshness. She then starts cleaning, finding delight in every nook and cranny she tends to. With the apartment sparkling clean, her attention turns to the task of preparing dinner, once again using the offerings received by the shrine. Meanwhile, after enduring another long and tiring day at work, Kuruto wearily makes his way home, his thoughts drifting to what Senko might be occupied with. When he gets home, the cheerful fox greets him upon his arrival. With dinner and a relaxing bath already prepared, everything is conveniently arranged for his weary body to find solace. Once again he apologized to Senko, expressing his concern that she's going through so much trouble for him. Senko, however, dismisses his apologies, emphasizing that she does it willingly out of her own desire. Kuruto then opens up about his rough day at work, recounting how he was reprimanded and how his hearing has been slightly off ever since. In search of cotton swabs who alleviate the discomfort, he spots them on a nearby table. As he reaches out to grab them, Senko uses her magical powers to make them float away and towards her. With a gentle smile, she then offers to clean his ears for him. Kuruto declines the offer, causing Senko to appear bewildered by his rejection of what she claims to be the most masterful ear cleaner in existence. Kuruto remarks that it's rather peculiar to assert mastery in such a task. Senko playfully persists, questioning the harm and simply wanting to clean his ears. However, Kuruto maintains that he can handle the ear cleaning himself and that it makes him feel kinda weird. Flustered, Senko suggests to compromise. She proposes that if he allows her to clean his ears, she'll grant him permission to touch hers in return. Intrigued by Senko's proposal, Kuruto decides to indulge his curiosity and agrees her terms. He positions himself lying on his side with his head resting on her lap. A slight concern crosses his mind as he wonders if it's appropriate to do this with a young girl. However, it quickly reminds himself that Senko is an 800-year-old demigod. As Senko begins to clean his ear, Kuruto is taken back by the unexpectedly pleasant sensation. The warmth of her lap and the softness of her fluffy fur contribute to his soothing ambience that lulls Kuruto into a state of tranquility. Before he knows it, he drifts off to sleep and finds himself dreaming of Senko. Within his dream, Kuruto envisions a faceless man, presumably Senko's master, showering her with affectionate headpats. Senko, surprised by the attention, protests, exclaiming that she should be the one pampering him. Her master, unfazed by her protests, responds, expressing that her mere presence brightens the mood and that in itself is a form of valuable assistance. Just then Kuruto awakens from his dream, apologizing for unintentionally falling asleep once again on Senko's lap. However, she reassures him that it was no trouble at all. In fact, she proudly boasts that her skills in ear cleaning render everyone powerless. As Kuruto reflects on his vivid dream, he curiously asks Senko if they have met before. Senko responds, admitting that she can't recall the face of every child she has encountered. Recalling their agreement, Karuto then realizes it's now his turn to touch her ears. Flustered, Senko prepares herself and sits in between his legs, while Karuto mentally readies himself for the moment. After a pause that seems like an eternity, the fox shouts at him to finally touch her ears, and he reaches out. He notices that the texture is subtly distinct from her tail, exuding a delicate and comforting fluffiness that envelops him. As Karuto indulges in this sensation, Senko gently reminds him to control himself. Curiosity getting the best of him, he wonders what the insides of her ears feel like and impulsively pokes his fingers inside. In response, Senko lets out a banshee screech, prompting a concerned neighbor to investigate the source of the piercing cry. As a slightly upset Senko hides under the covers, Karuto lowers his head, expressing his apologies once again. With discontent, she requests him to go to bed. However, he mentions that it feels too early to sleep at the moment. Sensing opportunity to help him, Senko emerges from her hiding spot and insists that he would get a full 8 hours of rest if he goes to bed now. Karuto, concerned about oversleeping and being late for work, responds that he typically only sleeps about 4 hours. This revelation surprises Senko, questions if he's even human, and urges him to take better care of his body. With a touch of whimsy, she mentions that the most experienced sleepers rest for several years or even hundreds. Opening up about his recent struggles with insomnia, Karuto expresses uncertainty about his ability to fall asleep. However, with a smile, Senko assures him that this won't be an issue now. Gently touching his blanket, Senko reveals that she has hanged out in the sun for him. Excitedly, Karuto jumps into bed, feeling the comfort and fluffiness of his blanket and savoring its fresh scent from being exposed to the sun. Filled with happiness, he expresses his gratitude to Senko for hanging it outside, confident that he will be able to fall asleep easily now. As the nag progresses, Senko begins to feel sleepy herself and decides to prepare for bed. Modestly, Karuto averts his gaze while she changes into her sleepwear. Once she is ready, Senko settles on the floor, adopting a sleeping position reminiscent of a pet, and he kindly turns off the light for her. While in bed, Karuto can't help but feel it. Making a demigod sleep on the floor is extremely unlucky, so he approaches Senko and gently wakes her. Senko assumes he's having trouble sleeping again, but Karuto explains that the floor cushion might not be comfortable to sleep on and suggests offering her one of the guest futons stored in the closet. However, Senko misunderstands his intention and curls up in his bed beside him, assuming he just wants to sleep together. Flustered by her words, Karuto quickly interjects, but Senko playfully teases him, referring to him as a big baby, and instructs him to go to sleep. Despite his initial discomfort, Senko wraps him in the softness of her fluffy tail, and Karuto, feeling secure and comforted, gradually succumbs to sleep. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.